Hello. It's a little bit dark on my side, but I believe that you can be able to see me. I will try to do some adjustments in my lighting system in this room so that we can be together. However, I believe the important thing is not actually to see me. The important thing is to listen to this audio and this recording and get to understand what we are talking about. We are meeting again today to continue with our lesson, which is emerging cybercrime trends. And today we shall be focusing on lesson number 8. And lesson number 8, we shall be discussing the adversaries, their techniques and methods. The adversaries, their techniques and methods. In the security industry, we don't refer to criminals or enemies as enemies. We refer to them as adversaries. Adversaries. Maybe it is a new term to you, or maybe it is a term that is already familiar with you, but we refer to enemies as adversaries. So we shall be talking about adversaries, their techniques and methods. And for your information, this is a very lengthy presentation. It is a very lengthy presentation. So I will try to move very fast because my wish is we cover it within 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes at the maximum. So I'll try to move very fast because it has got a lot of content and I didn't want to delete slides and to miss out important information that is important. Another thing I would like to say that we have completed the basics. We are now in the middle of our course. And when we are in the middle of our course, you'll find that in the following presentations, some of the concepts are repetitive. They come again in lesson 9, in lesson 10, in lesson 11. The reason is that we build on what we did at the basic level from lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'll find that some of the words, some of the things repeat again to put more emphasis so that you may understand deeply these issues. Having said that, we are going to start this presentation and we are going to look at the adversaries, cybercrime adversaries. Now, there are 4 adversary routes to information disclosure. Number 1 is outsiders. Number 2, insiders with malicious intent. Number 3, insiders by inadvertent disclosure. Number 4, insiders colluding with outsiders. The lines between white-collar information theft, economic espionage, and legitimate intelligence gathering are very blurred. These lines are not very clear. You cannot easily differentiate between information theft, economic espionage, and legitimate intelligence gathering. Outsiders, we shall look at them in detail. Insiders with malicious intent, we are going to look at them in detail. Insiders by inadvertent disclosure. This is a disclosure unknowingly. We are going to look at them, also discuss, and then insiders colluding with outsiders. Remember, this is one of the major threats. Insiders colluding with outsiders. People within the organization planning to commit cyber crimes against their own organization, and they are planning with outsiders. So insiders colluding with outsiders is a big threat that needs detailed discussion. Intelligence gatherers can be competitors, vendors, investigators, business intelligence consultants, the press, labor negotiators, and government agencies. Information theft is predominantly an insider risk, with vastly more confidential information removed from their workplace by employees than by hackers. Trusted insiders pose the greatest risk to the divulgence of trade secrets. Trusted insiders. In security, we say we don't trust anybody. Even in cyber security, also, we should say we do not trust anybody. Nobody is above trust when we talk about these threats. Even the security people themselves. One time I worked at Tribe Hotel as security manager, and I installed a camera inside the control room. The reason was because nobody is above trust. Even in security, you still have to look at people with double eyes until you conclude that these people are innocent. Then an insider working on behalf of an outsider party poses a particularly dangerous threat, as here we see the factors of opportunity, accessibility, combining with the directed targeting and often pressure, perhaps through bribery, job offer, or blackmail of the outside party. It is important here not to overlook contractors who will have often circumvented your own background screening process and may have access to the corporate network. I'm trying to raise my volume up because some feedback I received is that sometimes the volume is not very clear. So excuse me when you hear me trying to raise my voice so that we are moving in the same direction. Let me pause for a minute. We have to take note of the fact that contractors also become cyber criminals. Former employees as an adversary. For your information, former employees in an organization, they are very dangerous people. Former employees, they are very dangerous people. The risk posed by a former employee who had trusted access to information system is very significant. A significant number of external attacks against information systems are committed by former employees, contractors, or aggrieved parties who formerly had been given authorized access to the systems under attack and thereby gained inside knowledge of the targeted systems and networks. Former employees. Sometimes departing employees have virtual backdoors through which they can access the system after departure. Additionally, legitimate access of a leaver is often not revoked in a timely manner, giving them ongoing access after their departure, where policies are lax, where nobody critically follows the exit process. You find that somebody has already left the organization, he or she is working for another organization, and he or she can still access the systems of the former employer. That is a very dangerous thing to do. In cybersecurity, we say once a person exits the organizations, his credentials should be revoked immediately. Immediately upon departure, credentials should be revoked. Competitors as adversaries. This is self-explanatory. Corporations have been spying on one another for decades. They may use legitimate competitive intelligence techniques or more covert tactics such as trying to elicit information from employees, former employees, or often offering jobs to employees of competitors. Reverse engineering is also another common tactic. We are going to look at reverse engineering. The situation is most extreme at the international level, where the state intelligence apparatus of many nations, FIS, aggressively target the commercially secret information of other nations' competitors. So they say the situation is more extreme at the international level, where foreign intelligence services or state intelligence apparatus of other countries aggressively target the commercially secret information of other nations' competitors. You know what is happening between China, US, Russia, Iran, South Korea, North Korea. You know these things, intelligence, a lot of aggressive targeting of intelligence. You also know what is happening in Israel, with Palestine. You also know what is happening this side of Syria. So you know how these intelligence operatives can target systems to gather sensitive information with the purpose of espionage. Now, still on competitors, another organization has identified partnerships as a route through which competitors may seek to obtain sensitive information. Another route is common contractors, or a contractor who is perhaps disaffected at losing a long-term contract with one company, and which then approaches a competitor with confidential information. Business partners. Business partners as adversaries. Business partners can be suppliers, distributors, customers, partners, government agencies, etc. It is in our nature to trust business partners as to all extents and purposes. It appears that we share common goals. For the most part, this trust is not misplaced. However, business partnerships present a perfect opportunity for the adversary to exploit and as such as we may want to trust the partner as an entity. How much do we know, and how much does it know about its individual employees to whom our sensitive information is entrusted? So we see that some of the adversaries in the corporate world is actually business partners who suppliers, distributors, customers, partners, government agencies, etc. These people, you have to be very careful with them when you are designing your cyber security policies. You are designing your access control policies. You are defining your levels of confidentiality in the organization. You should take note of these individuals. Also, moving on, we see that foreign governments, we have spoken about that. Foreign governments gather information about other governments. There's no need to focus on that much, as we have already even discussed examples between what is happening between the United States, what is happening between United States and China, what is happening between China and Russia is happening. This is what we call foreign governments gathering intelligence about other corporations or other people in the interest of advancing their agendas. So that's one, no need to talk about it more. Then they may plant listening devices in hotel and meeting rooms. Foreign countries is who we call foreign intelligence services. They may listen into phone calls, engineer meetings, etc. They may circumvent your laptop security when connected to Wi-Fi networks, such as in a hotel. Access laptops when in caves. Then size laptops and smartphones of travelers at airports, even if in transit. Then hack into smartphones and use them as listening devices. These are some of the tactics used by foreign intelligence services to gather information from whoever they want to gather information, their enemies. They can also hack into laptops and activate the webcam or microphone without your knowledge. They can intercept 100% of SMS messages and emails transmitted or received over smartphone roaming on their domestic networks. Roaming. Additional methods of espionage reported by FBI in its annual report to Congress in 2006 include agent recruitment and placement of agents within companies, the coercion of current and former employees, surreptitious entry to office, laboratories and manufacturing plants, theft of computers. Covert entry. Covert entry is an intelligent way you can find your way into a particular organization and the laboratories or manufacturing plants. And also another method is theft of computers. Other foreign intelligence services overt tactics, overt is open, may include the aggressive pursuit of joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, the use of temporary research students with access to target sites facilities, scientific or technological exchanges, direct requests for information, contrived visits to sensitive facilities, often on the pretext of potential custom, the acquisition of technology or entire companies, e.g., subcontractors and suppliers, the exploitation of overseas distribution agreements. Information brokers. Information brokers also pose a significant threat. Information brokers. Information brokers trade in information. Many operate legally, but some don't. The oil and gas industry is one of the several sectors which suffers from information brokers seeking to gain information of value to tendering contractors. Methods may range from open source data gathering through computer-based data mining to targeted social engineering of specific employees. They often blend in with business settings at conferences and seminars, networking with delegates, or at exhibitions. They are usually highly intelligent, articulate, social, and adept at networking. So that is information brokers. So as you move around in your own businesses, at your own job, be careful with the information brokers. Okay. And then in terms of tactics and ethnicity, ethicality, information brokers can be viewed on a continuum. At the one end are those who work perfectly legitimately, harvesting information from genuine open sources. At the other end are those who may use trickery, deceit, and social engineering to ensure the unsuspecting to ensnare the unsuspecting employee. Those who exploit regular employees can be insidious and difficult to defeat, as they usually bypass traditional firewall and information security perimeter defenses. So information brokers are one of the major adversaries who steal information. Then there are journalists. Journalists are less interested in the theft of information and more interested in its leakage, placing sensitive information in the public domain, perhaps out of individually subjective view on what constitutes in the public interest. As such, they may represent a significant threat to your organization, and they may approach your employees. Contractors bound by a non-disclosure agreement. So contractors should be bound by a non-disclosure agreement. Non-disclosure agreements exist in organizations with the aim of ensuring that you do not share information with third parties without authority. We also talk about activists. We also spoke about activists in the other presentation when we were talking about types of hackers and motivations of hackers. We talked about activists, those who may be opposed to the activities of your organization, may seek to gain information by various means. Activists can be within the local community or can belong to a broader movement, such as environmentalists, anti-capitalists, anti-vivisection, etc. Activists may seek to join the workforce to gain information or may access sensitive information in the guise of temporary workers or contractors. Objectives: place sensitive information into the public domain. Activists want to place sensitive information into the public domain and reveal details about forthcoming operations or events so that they can disrupt the operations of a particular organization. Protest activities or legal challenges can be organized. So remember, activists are also one way of people getting information. Extremists. Extremists and terrorists operate in a similar manner to activists, but are less focused on placing sensitive information in the public domain. Instead, they will seek out intelligence that they can use when planning violent action against target organizations. In some cases, they will seek to penetrate the target organization. Terrorist groups may seek to exploit the employees within a critical national infrastructure organization. A critical national infrastructure organization, for example, in Kenya, is the Safaricom or the Kengen. That is a critical national infrastructure organization. So remember, terrorist groups may seek to exploit employees within a critical national organization. Organized criminal gangs. Now, majority of these targets are committed by organized criminal gangs. Organized criminal gangs, OCG, pose a significant threat to personal data as they provide the raw material for identity theft. Organized criminal gangs may penetrate organizations or more likely coerce an existing employee to spy on their behalf. An underground economy has developed whereby organized crime criminals will buy self-stolen information such as credit cards details and bank accounts. There is also a service economy aspect where organized criminal gangs may contract if IT specialists to hack into systems, license malicious software for use by other criminals, and provide tutorials to less experienced criminals. Even if no data is stolen, the impact of a criminal intrusion into a corporate system can be significant. A server may have to be rebuilt to ensure that no malicious software remains. A regulator may ask for proof that no data has been stolen, a very difficult and costly exercise, which is a very difficult and costly exercise. And there may be further integrity and availability impacts. So what we have discussed are categories of or types of adversaries, and these are the enemies who engage in cybercrime. These are the enemies who engage in cybercrimes, and these are the people we should keep in mind when we are designing our protective security measures and our cyber security policies in our organizations. Now, we focus now on the threats. So the threats. Most organizations, the threats to their information assets are greater than the threat to their physical asset in terms of likelihood, impact, and vulnerability. It means that the threat to information has more serious consequences in terms of likelihood, impact, and vulnerability as compared to the threat to physical assets. There are two primary reasons why the risk is generally underestimated. Information theft is generally invisible. It is happening, but for the most part, it is invisible to the defender, unless it is being specifically looked for. Even when compromised and obtained by an adversary, there is no clear apparent loss to the owner. There is no crime scene, and the criminal is still invisible, accessible, and apparently intact. Sorry, there is no crime scene, and the data is still visible, accessible, and apparently intact. The systems, you can see the systems, you can see the information. If it is in hard copies, it is still there, yet it has been stolen. For example, when a person will use a USB on your computer and steal data, he will just copy the data to the USB and take it away. So when you access your system, you will find the data is still there. It is still visible. However, the data is gone and there is no crime scene. Also, number one threat is negligence. And this is a big threat in all organizations. Negligence. Studies consistently identify negligence, or at very least ignorance, as a primary cause of information loss. Even us, we engage in a lot of negligence activities that lead to us losing personal data. When we go to the ATM, we withdraw money, we throw away the receipts. We don't know that these receipts contain very sensitive information. When we pay our bills, how we handle our mobile phones, how we communicate on social media, we are all negligently giving out personal information. Such ignorance may pervade every level of the organization and may include ignorance or denial of the threats and ignorance or even negligence in the application of safe practices. Trends in insider compliance with data security policies. Survey report reinforces this view and drew the following conclusions. Most respondents admit to serious non-compliant workplace behaviors that place their companies at risk. We are going also in, as we move towards the end of the course, we are going to discuss habits that put organizations at risk, why it is very easy to access information in organizations. Such behaviors include the insecure use of USB memory sticks, web-based email, social media, mobile devices, and more. The rate of non-compliant employees' behavior appears to be getting worse over time. Employees non-compliant, they don't want to follow the rules in the organization and to support the IT department and the security department in ensuring that information is protected. Negligence. The most serious examples include the increasing frequency of lost or missing USB memory sticks or other portable data-bearing devices that are not reported to the company or reported in a timely fashion. Employee attitudes about their employers, i.e., favorable versus unfavorable, appear to temper the level of non-compliant workplace behavior. Organizations do not provide ample training or adequate policy information to employees about data protection and the security practices in their workplace. So wherever you work, whatever you do, try to encourage people to develop a security culture, security awareness, security consciousness. People should know what is happening and how is information stolen and how can we ensure that we protect our information at the organizational level. Another threat, number two, is cyberspace, a shift in the threat. Number two is cyberspace, a shift in threat. Foreign intelligence services have significantly shifted their activities from traditional human espionage to cyberspace, where most business activity and development of new ideas takes place. This one you already know. Sensitive economic information and technology are targeted by foreign intelligence services. Private sector companies, academic and research institutions, and the citizens of dozens of countries. The proliferation of portable devices that connect to the internet and other networks will continue to create new opportunities for malicious actors to conduct espionage. So too is cyberspace. Businesses are undergoing a cultural shift that places greater value on access to information and less emphasis on privacy of data protection. Activists may use the tools of economic espionage against companies, agencies, or other entities with disgruntled insiders leaking information about corporate trade secrets or critical US technology to back to hacktivist groups like WikiLeaks. It is reasonable to assume that the Foreign intelligence services of many other major nations have long been engaging in similar activities targeting commercial enterprises. We have seen this, we have discussed this, there's no need to repeat it. Inadvertent disclosure. Inadvertent disclosure is disclosure without your knowledge. This is prior to the cyberspace revolution. Inadvertent disclosure probably accounted for the greater volume of information compromise. Employees were and are still not given sufficient guidance over what information can be released and what cannot. And this is especially advantageous to adversaries who are adept at practicing social engineering. Even with the correct guidance, employees continue to break organizational rules or just plain negligent in putting and thereby putting a company's data at risk. Today, much inadvertent disclosures takes place in cyberspace. People tend to trust without question those whom they encounter in chat rooms or LinkedIn or Facebook. And relationships can be cultivated that facilitate inadvertent disclosure through social engineering. Moreover, it is estimated that at least 1 in 100 Facebook accounts are fake. At least 1 in 100 Facebook accounts are fake. And this the intention of these fake Facebook accounts is to solicit for information, is to steal information, is to look for data. Think how easy it is to create a Facebook account and claim that you are a fellow employee of the target employer, perhaps at a different location. Then a quick search and some friend requests, which will be further propagated by new friends, and the adversary can very quickly build up an extensive network of trusting contacts within the target company. So you can see how it is very, very, very important for us in the security industry, for us as cyber security analysts, for us as cyber security professionals to watch how we communicate and how we use social media, both Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media, including TikTok. Technical surveillance. Technical surveillance can take many forms, including, remember we are talking about threats. Now we are talking about technical surveillance. Technical surveillance can include many forms. Listening devices or recording devices, concealed in meeting rooms, offices, vehicles, hotel rooms, etc. You know already this. Interception of telephone calls, SMS, smartphone, email, or telephone log intercept. This can be targeted interrupt or blanket mass intercept for later analysis. Long distance microphones or beams directed at windows. Computer transmission intercept or intercept of the Wi-Fi network. Computer hacking, remove the browsing, keystroke logging, etc. And then smartphone hacking and data theft. And then video surveillance, including the use of long lenses to see into country or into conference rooms. Technical surveillance. Technical surveillance, these are some of the tactics, some of the methods used by cyber criminals to target information and data. Pathogens. Pathogens include malware such as viruses, trojans, worms, spyware. Many virus infections arise out of lack of awareness or negligence. For example, sharing flash drives with other users, not keeping antivirus software updated, sharing illegal unlicensed software and files, careless web browsing and careless downloading, clicking on links in emails or opening file attachments. At this point, the strongest defense standing between the virus and the infection is user awareness and knowledge. User awareness and knowledge. If you have the information, if you have the knowledge, then you are the greatest defense. But if you don't have the knowledge, if you don't have the information, then again, you are the weakest link. One pathogen has risen in popularity in recent years, mainly due to its ease of deployment and high chance of financial return. And it is ransomware. It is a form of malicious software that after infecting a machine, encrypts the files on that machine and it demands that the user pays a ransom in order to obtain the key to decrypt their files and make them accessible again. We went already through this, so it is just a repeater as one of the threats. And then we have denial of service attacks. We are going to discuss this in detail in lesson. I think it is lesson 10, not 11. Lesson 10, we are going to discuss denial of service attacks in detail. And then we have reverse engineering. We talked about it. In reverse engineering, an adversary takes a finished product and works backwards to establish the process, specifications, and ingredients involved in the product manufacture. This is a highly complex legal area of intellectual property protection, but there is no doubt that if an adversary can gain access to sensitive company information, perhaps through an employee, a disgruntled ex-employee, a supplier, or a discarded hard drive, the task can be made much simpler. And then social engineering, we also talked about it. Social engineering refers to the tactics of deliberately eliciting information from unsuspecting individual through psychological manipulation and establishing relationship of trust. You remember we talked about an imposter, a person who assumes the role of a CEO or says I'm the security manager, and yet it is an imposter to elicit information from you. It preys on the weaknesses of the human link in an organization security system, exploiting our fears or our natural tendency to trust each other and our willingness to help in order to deceive and manipulate us to provide information to the adversary. Social engineering. So social engineering can take the form of telephone inquiries, phone calls from individuals purporting to be IT help desk, approaches at trade shows or conferences, approaches on the internet in chat rooms or social networking sites, approaches by email, phony job offers, and establishing relationships. These are some of the ways criminals use social engineering to elicit or to get information from unsuspecting employees. In specific regard to protection of critical national infrastructure, this document, which is a document of the UK, observes that attacks are often closely linked to malicious activities such as hacking, identity theft, phishing, spear phishing, targeted phishing attacks, farming attacks, which use technical means to direct users to malicious websites, and industrial espionage and traditional espionage. Those are some of the tactics that are used to target CNI, which is critical national infrastructures. Phishing is one of a type of social engineering attack in which a user receives a fraudulent email purporting to come from a seemingly legitimate source. The reality, of course, is that it doesn't, and the adversary has used one of the multitude of tools available on the internet to type in from address a name of their own choosing. The email contains a trick to get the recipient to click on a link, which of course is malicious. In some cases, clicking on the link will infect the computer. In other cases, the user will be asked to enter a confidential login credentials or details, perhaps to raid their online banking account. So phishing, it is when a person actually confuses you by sending you an email purportedly coming from a legitimate or authorized user. You should be able to differentiate phishing and social engineering. Then, as soon as the person logs in, their account details are compromised. And tricks include emails advising recipients that there is something wrong with their bank or asking them to confirm a payment by logging in. Emails purporting to come from couriers advising of an imminent delivery and providing a hyperlink on which to click to track delivery. Emails with connection requests purporting to come from LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Emails purporting to come from the company CEO demanding members of the finance department to make an urgent payment that is known as CEO fraud. Oh, those are some of the tricks. Email. There was one lady we worked with briefly at Hermosa Garden Hotel, and somebody from UK sent her, purported to have sent her presents, and it was a way for looking for a way to fraud this lady. Or you have had what is called a CEO fraud. You should also be careful about that. And then we also spoke about hacking. You already know information about hacking. A hacker is someone who seeks and exploits weaknesses in a computer system or a computer network. We spoke about black hat hackers. We spoke about white hat hackers, and we said white hat hackers are ethical hackers who hack systems with the intention of discovering vulnerabilities and advising the organization accordingly. Maybe you can just write some few notes there, but I will arrange and send you detailed notes for this lesson. And then we also saw that hackers passwords present little defense against skilled hackers. Passwords actually present little defense against hackers. You can also see that organized criminals gangs also employ hackers to attack bank accounts, steal personal data, gain unauthorized access to systems, or that this can be used for future or further criminal activity. The human side of computer security is easily exploited and constantly overlooked. How we use systems, how we use computers, how we use passwords, how we update our passwords, how we renew, change our passwords. These are weaknesses that are easily exploited. And then bin reading, you know something about bin reading. Bin reading, also known as dumpster diving, is the tactic adopted by some adversaries of drawing or going through trash through the paper waste of target organization in order to find sensitive information. At its basic level, this can be single adversaries, perhaps looking for personal data such as credit card information of clients. However, more sophisticated attacks may involve infiltrating agents into contract cleaning teams with the intention of diverting paper waste for sensitive safety. So be also in your organization, be very careful with the contracted cleaners. Contracted cleaners usually have access to sensitive information, and they can steal this information, they can compromise this information, and this information can easily leak to criminals. And then security measures when it comes to dumpster issues have a two bin system, one for waste such as wrappings, bottles, and cans, and the other for the organization's paper waste. Ensure that the latter is always shredded. Don't embrace paper recycling to the extent that it compromises security. There are those people in organizations who focus a lot on saving cost. So every document is printed on a recycled paper, and this recycled paper having further information at the back. So this information finds its way into the hands of criminals. Shredders are used to shred documents completely to ensure that nobody can compromise this information. Then what we can say here is also great staff awareness of the problem and helping staff discriminate between what is of value to an adversary and what is not is very important. Training of staff. And then these are just more details about use of different colored papers to match security classifications. Much of the risk posed by bin writing could be eliminated if employees took more care of what they put into the bins. Special repositories for paper waste, then passed to a contractor for disposal, and then spot checks of bins and reports in monthly security bulletins, but not identifying individuals for blame. And then also data slurping. It is assumed that the IT department can effectively monitor for unauthorized attempts to copy sensitive data, but this isn't generally true. Data slurping is made very easy by the myriad of flash memory devices, memory sticks, thumb drives in the marketplace, and the practical impossibility of being able to search employees for such devices. So data slurping, you also know about that. Data slurping is when somebody uses a flash disk to put into a computer, copy immediately information, and get out of the room. And then furthermore, mobile phones, smartphones have the same functionality, especially if they have an SD card and are often attached to computers for charging via USB, which of course allows also for data transfer. This one is something already in your domain. And then the problem is that there is rarely any indication of which files have been copied or to from the device. We already spoke about that. Let's talk about a more practical strategy to prevent this. Involves a combination of procedural and technical means. Procedurally, employees are warned that they are prohibited from using flash drives for mobile phones with company IT systems. This is backed up by technical means using software to prevent all but registered flash drives from being readable in USB ports. In some cases, it may be practical to employ more physical approaches by physically blocking access to USB ports. So those are some of the ways. And then we talk about the cloud. The cloud is a threat. Cloud security is beyond the scope of this module, although it is necessary to draw attention to two specific risks. We are not discussing the details of cloud. It is another just vast field. Data theft or exploration using cloud services, whether personal or commercial, which makes the task of sensitive data copying extremely easy for the adversary and often undetectable. Cloud storage makes it very easy for criminals to steal sensitive data and go unnoticed. Infection from cloud services, either from documents downloaded from file sharing sites that may be tainted by viruses or by malicious software hosted on the website itself. And then Wi-Fi hotspots. Wi-Fi hotspots is another area where we need to be very careful because public Wi-Fis are not fully appreciated. Connecting your computer to a public Wi-Fi hotspot could expose it to intrusion or intercept of communications. A second risk is that of spot Wi-Fi hotspots. Spoof Wi-Fi hotspots. These are Wi-Fi signals which transmit an SSID to mimic what users might expect in a particular area. For example, airport Wi-Fi. The source is often one person with a broadcasting laptop, harvesting credit card information or passwords to sites such as your online banking services. So, read more about Wi-Fi hotspots and the vulnerabilities they cause when you connect your smartphone or your computer to Wi-Fi hotspots. What vulnerabilities are you creating? And then we can also talk about some other issues, how hackers can get this information. This is because hackers armed with free programs such as Cain and Abel, Wireshark, or Ethercap can connect to the same networks and eavesdrop on emails or copy passwords as they pass over the network. The best way to protect your data from interception by other network users is to encrypt it while it is in transit between your computer and your office network using a company VPN. We are going to talk about a little bit about encryption, authentication, and the authorizations and other measures and patches and other measures. We are going to talk about these protective measures in the next module, I believe. And then phony job offers. We also spoke about this. Be very careful with phony job offers. This is how criminals get your detailed information. In fact, through phony job offers, it is very easy because they tell you to send your CV and all copies of your documents. Once you send all copies of your documents, already they have your details. They have all your details. And at the end, they tell you to pay. So you pay them for, you give them your information, and then again you pay them. So phony job offers, be very, very, very careful with this. And then also the insider threat. We will just mention some few words here. Insiders are a big threat. The insiders are a big threat, and we must always, as security professionals, as IT professionals, look at the insiders, who are the employees, more closely. Nobody should be above the procedures. No, everybody should go through the same procedures. If it is such exercise, if it is updating of passwords, if it is controls, everybody should be subject to the same procedures to protect the information and data in organizations. And then also we say sources and motivations of malicious insiders. Insiders, mostly the most common insider risk information is posted by departing employee. We have spoken about that. This may be an employee who is known to be leaving or who is quietly planning to leave. This is especially the case in managerial or specialized roles where the employee may be planning to move to a competitor or to set up his own business in competition with their former employer. You have witnessed this, that an employee quits a company and they goes and they set up their own company similar to yours, and they steal your operating procedures, operating policies, and they use them to develop their own companies or to sell to competitors. And then also other motivations for insider threat to information may include opposed to the activities of the organization, for example, an activist, manipulating information for financial gain, either legally or illegally, working on behalf of an outside party, competitor, supplier, intelligence agency, subversive or terrorist group, etc., opposed to the organization's activities, to planning to how to blow the whistle. Many insiders who stole or modified information were actually recruited by outsiders, including organized crime and foreign organizations or governments. And then tactics by malicious insiders, browsing through emails of colleagues, sometimes forwarding to personal accounts, copying databases, putting sensitive information into the public domain, planting intercept devices, audio, video, keystrokes, etc. These are some of the tactics by malicious insiders. And then also targeting specific information on behalf of an outsider, theft of data bearing hardware, identifying potential targets, discontented employees for approach and exploitation, or a job offer by an outside adversary, leaving backdoors to get back into IT systems after departure, altering or modifying data, using printers, scanners, or faxes to aid in data theft. Using printers, scanners, or faxes to aid in data theft. Those are some of the tactics of malicious insiders. And then just a little bit on mitigating the risk posed by insiders. Insider threats are influenced by combination of technical behavioral and organizational issues, and must be addressed by policies, procedures, and technologies. Once employees become disgruntled with their employers and pursue better offers, valuable information often goes out of the door and points to the inevitability that former employees will disclose or use trade secret for their old employer in the course of their new employment. Beyond this, there needs to be a comprehensive information asset protection program that considers the following elements. So in the information protection program, this information will be contained there. Identifying key information assets. We spoke about that earlier on, and where they are located and in whose custody are these key information assets. Background screening of people who are being employed to work for the company. Awareness training of the insider threat. Awareness training of the risks posed by social media and the BYOD programs. Clearly communicated policy, procedures, and responsibilities under the policy. Employee socialization programs. I hope you know what we mean by employee socialization programs, because mostly employees usually engage in a criminal activity of financial gain, and they engage in criminal activity of financial gain because they are lacking the financial power that they require. So there are usually employee socialization programs in organizations to aid employees, to caution them against the difficulties they are going through in their personal life. And then there is non-disclosure agreements with the employees and the business partners. Need to know access, development of a comprehensive employee termination procedure, computer activity monitoring, and responding to suspicious or disruptive behaviors, anticipating and managing negative issues in the work environment.